guys, okay, so today we are going to learn about the first lesson in your science book, that is importance of microorganisms. Okay, who are microorganisms? The unicellular or multicellular organisms which cannot be observed clearly by the naked eye are called microorganisms. So, here what do you mean by unicellular? Unicellular means they have only single cell, and multicellular organisms means they have more than one cell, more than a single cell. And also they say which cannot be observed clearly by the naked eye. What do you mean by the naked eye? Naked eye in the sense your eyes are not weared by anything like glasses, spectacles or the lenses. Okay, so this is the definition of microorganisms. And then how can you observe the microorganisms? If they are not visible to our naked eye, there's a way, there should be a way we can see that. Okay, so the microorganisms, they can be observed clearly by the microscope. When you talk about the microscope, hope you all have seen the microscope. There are different types of microscopes, like you have the light microscope and then you have the electron microscope. But when you talk about the microorganisms, you can clearly observe them using the light microscope. And here they say, where do microorganisms usually live? Now, these microorganisms, they live in the atmosphere, where it is the air. They live in the air, and also they live in water, they live in soil, they live inside the living organisms, just like our gut. They live in our gut as well, right? And also the hostile environments such as glaciers. What do you mean by the hostile environments? Like the environments which have very extreme conditions. For example, if you take glaciers, deserts, hot springs, deep sea and saline environments. What do you mean by saline environments? They are the marine environments which are salty. Those are called as saline environments. Okay guys, they have given you a simple activity to observe the microorganisms. So the materials that you need for this activity are a sample of coconut water, a glass slide, a cover slip and a light microscope. Hope you guys are now aware what a glass slide and a cover slip is. You can see in the right side I have given a small picture of a glass slide, which is the longer one, and the cover slip which you keep to cover the specimen on the slide. Okay, so the procedure or the method how we are going to do this activity is, so the first thing, place the coconut water in a clean container and keep it for 3 days. What you have to do is you have to take some coconut water, put it in a clean container, and you need to keep it for like 3 days. Take a drop of coconut water and place it on the glass slide and cover it with a cover slip. Then what you have to do is you have to take a drop of coconut water and then you have to put it on the glass slide, which is the long one, and then you have to cover that specimen with a cover slip. Then you need to observe this slide. You take that slide and keep it on the stage of the microscope, clip it, and then you need to observe this specimen under the low power. So then you'll observe that there are spherical shaped organisms, spherical shaped unicellular organisms on the slide. So you can come to a conclusion that a unicellular spherical shaped organism was observed under the light microscope, and it was not visible to our naked eye. When you look at the water droplet, the coconut water droplet, you did not see any microorganisms. But when you observe it through the light microscope, you were able to see the spherical shaped organism, the unicellular organism. Okay, so yeast, which was not able to be seen from the naked eye but was able to see by the microscope, light microscope, so the yeast can be categorized in the, or the yeast can be put under the category of the microorganisms. Okay, so when you talk about the microorganisms, they differ in their morphological and physiological mechanisms. When you talk about the morphological, means morphology in the sense the appearance, and then physiological mechanisms mean in the functional way mechanisms, right? The microorganisms can be divided into 5 main types. I have given here bacteria, virus, fungi, algae and protozoans. Okay, and in your textbook they had given some 2 additional microorganisms as well, that is amoeba and muco. I would like to say something about amoeba also. Amoeba is the microorganism who has pseudopodia. Pseudopodia is the false feet that they used in the movements, and muco is a fungi that usually grow on bread. Okay, who are viruses? When you talk about the viruses, you can hear it more commonly these days because of this COVID-19 situation. Virus, when you call this uh, microorganism, although we categorize it under microorganisms, they are in the border of living and non-living. They show the features of living and non-living, but so they can we actually cannot put them under microorganisms. We can't call it an organism very directly, although we learn it under the microorganisms. Okay, who's Anthony van Leeuwenhoek? I hope you guys have seen him in your textbook, and you know already, maybe you know already. He's a Dutch scientist, and he's the one who observed the microorganisms for the very first time in 1674. He observed it using a simple microscope that he himself invented. Okay, effects of microorganisms on food. Now, this is very important. You need to understand the microbial growth on the food make them not suitable for human consumption. That is what we call food spoilage. This food is spoiled when the microorganisms grow and they release their byproducts on the food, right? As a result of this, the properties of the food, we can see the properties like the texture. Texture means the appearance, the color, the odor is the smell, the taste, the nutritional value, everything changes. Okay, so this is very this is not a beneficial effect of microorganisms. Okay, let's do a small activity to understand about how this food spoilage take place because of the action of the microorganisms. The materials you need for this activity are a slice of bread, some water, a glass slide, a cover slip and a microscope. Okay, the procedure or the method that we are using for this is you need to spray some water on a slice of bread. You take a slice of bread, you spray some water on it and you have to keep it for 3 days. And then after 3 days, you'll be able to see some ash colored powdered like substances on it, just like I have given in your first picture. And then you need to do what you need to do next is you take some of that substance and you place it on the glass slide, and then you put a drop of water on that particular substance and cover the specimen with a cover slide. Okay, cover slip, cover slip. Okay, and then you observe it under the microscope at low power, and what do you think you'll be able to see? Yes, you can see some fibers. There are some fibers and black structures on the bread as I have given in the below picture, right? The conclusion that we can come across is that the growth of muco is the those black structures that you can see on the bread, and those are muco, which is a type of fungi, and because of the growth of the muco and the release of their byproducts, the food spoilage or the bread has been come to a state which is not uh, which cannot be consumed by a human or any other living being. Okay, here comes another activity after the activity 1.2. That is activity 1.3. Here we are observing more features. Okay, So the materials that are needed for this activity are, you need sugar, you need yeast, you need a balloon, and then you need warm water which is 40 degrees Celsius, and you need a bottle of about 500 milliliters, and you need a beaker and a suitable container, The procedure or the method that we are going to follow is, you need to dissolve 2 teaspoons of sugar in 200 milliliters of warm water. You take 200 milliliters of warm water to a container, and then you take 2 teaspoons of sugar, you put it inside that, and then you dissolve. And then you need to add 1 teaspoon of yeast into the above sugar solution. You make that sugar solution, and then you add a 1 teaspoon of yeast also, and you are going to leave it for like 20 minutes. Okay, and then you need to make another sample of the same thing that you made before. You make another similar sample, and then what you need to do is, you are going to pour that into that bottle, the empty glass bottle. Then what you have to do is, you have to fix a balloon to the bottle, to the mouth of the bottle. You have to fix a balloon, and then you need to observe it after 20 minutes. Now you have 2 samples which is put inside the bottle, and also which is kept outside, just kept outside, right? And then what is the observation that you are going to observe? When the sugar and the yeast solutions were mixed, at the initial point when those two are mixed, you will be able to see the bubbles are appearing, and the solution became warm, right? That is in the normal sample. You see the bubbles are appearing, and the solution was warm. And then in the other one, and then you can smell the odor of the alcohol also. You get the smell of alcohol odor, right? And then in the other one, which we fixed the balloon started to inflate, or the balloon it started to increase its volume. What is the conclusion that you can come for this? Now you know there were bubbles. That means you can come to a conclusion that a gas was evolved. And then that was very confirmed when the balloon inflated. You know that a gas had been produced. That is the reason why the balloon was inflated. And the gas which was produced is carbon dioxide. And then I told you that there is odor of alcohol. That is because the yeast is producing a byproduct called ethyl alcohol. The smell of that only we actually were able to smell. Okay, so you already know we use yeast in the bread making and in the bakery products, right? Yeast is the key ingredient in the bakery products, the main thing that we use to make the bakery products. Why do we use yeast for these bakery products? Because it has the ability to produce carbon dioxide, which is making the dough rise. The dough means the mixture that we are making from all the powder and everything, and that is increasing its size, volume, because of the carbon dioxide which is produced by the yeast. And the ethyl alcohol is evaporated during the process of baking. So these bakery products, they have a very what do you call it, a very unique smell when the bakery products are making, right? So that is because of the ethyl alcohol. Okay, this is an important topic that we have to learn, that is the factors needed by the microorganisms for their growth and survival. Now you already know the growth of the microorganisms and the releasing of their byproducts on the food make the food spoilage, right? Now they should have to have a favorable temperature. Microorganisms should have a favorable temperature for these organisms to act on the food. The usual favorable temperature is 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. And they need moisture. They can't grow in the dry environments. Usually they are favorable in the moisture environments. And then, for example, if you take if you want to keep a food for some time, you put it in the refrigerator. What is the factor that you controlled here? The temperature. temperature in the fridge or the refrigerator is not 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. It's below than that. Because of that, the favorable temperature is not achieved by the microorganisms to grow. Therefore, the microbial growth is inhibited or slowed down in the refrigerator. That's why we usually put the food in the refrigerator to keep it for some time. And the moisture of course there in the refrigerator, but at least one factor is controlled here so that the food can be preserved, right? And here the other one is the different microorganism activities on the food. The different microbial activities on the food, the first thing is fermentation. Fermentation means when the microorganisms are acting on the food which is high in sugars, you call it fermentation. And then when the microorganisms act on the food which is high in protein, you call it putrefaction. And the microorganisms when they act on the food which is high in fats, you call it rancidity. Very easy. Okay, here we go. We are going to learn about the impact of microorganisms on humans and their activities in the topic 1.3. So you need to keep in mind there are benefits by the microorganisms as well as there are harmful effects by the microorganisms. Now when you come to the benefits of microorganisms, the production of dairy products, producing curd, producing yogurt, producing cheese, we use bacteria such as Lactobacillus bulgaricus, Streptococcus thermophilus is a bacteria which we use to produce yogurt. And then we used some of the bacteria for these antibiotics in the making of antibiotics, vaccines and all of that. And we used yeast in the making of bakery products, and then to produce vinegar we use microorganisms to produce alcohol, and in the production of food like mushroom is a fungi actually. And then in the production of compost, compost is basically animal and plant debris. Therefore, the microorganisms are involved in decaying all those plant and animal debris. And then the production of biogas is also involved in microbial activities. And also the car industry, which is helping you to produce brooms, is also helped by the microorganisms. Okay, and these microorganisms can be the decomposers, especially the bacteria and the fungi are decomposers which decay the plant and animal debris. And also these microorganisms are used in biological control of pests. Okay, here comes the harmful effects of microorganisms. The food spoilage, the first one, which we discussed earlier. Now you already know what is food spoilage, how it is taking place and all of that, right? And also the other one is causing infectious diseases to man. Now I have given you some infectious diseases that is caused by the viruses, bacteria, protozoans and the fungi. You have to go through about those things. And then the animals are also caused by infectious diseases like rabies, mastitis, and the crops. For the crops, the potato blight, the mosaic disease of the purple leaves, and the leaf curl disease in chilies plant. So these are the harmful infectious diseases that is occurred in the crops, or that is affected for the crops. And it causes economical damage to clothes and wooden furniture, especially the fungi. The fungi cause the damage to the walls, wooden surfaces. I'm sure you have seen these effects in your daily life when you go through the furniture and all. You can see some powder-like structures in different parts of your furniture, also in your clothes and also even in the books you can see, right? So these are the harmful effects of the microorganisms that we are discussing. Okay, so here we come to the final of our presentation. I hope you guys got a clear understanding about the importance of microorganisms, who are microorganisms, and their effects, how the food spoilage take place, and the benefits of the microorganisms, the harmful effects of microorganisms. And if you guys have any questions, please be free to put down in the comments. And thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for trusting me on this presentation. Okay, guys. Thank you, and hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.